Hey guys, we're here at our San Diego headquarters today, and today we're going to take you through the installation of our power pole adapter on a Hobie Pro Angler using the Hobie plate that is provided by them. And of course, we're going to use our J-2 outboard kit to do that. So I'm going to run you through the J-2 outboard kit very quickly. Then I'm going to open everything up, lay it on the table, and we'll start the installation. So when you receive your J-2 outboard kit, it's a complete kit with everything you need, except the adapter, of course, because that's going to depend on the kayak you've got or the boat you've got. You get your quick start guide. Please, please, please read that. Lots of good stuff in there. Your decal. Of course, you get your battery, remote charger for the battery. Under the remote, you do get your 4 nuts and bolts to put your motor on your adapter, and you do get a tiny little bit of dielectric grease. That should last for a few installations of your connector to your battery. You have your kill switch, small Allen key there to open the back of the motor if you need to clean things out, and of course your J-2 Bixpy motor. And today we're going to install this on the power pole adapter on that Pro Angler. We don't have a real kayak, we do have the back of a Pro Angler there that we're going to use to do the installation on, and we'll show you how that's done in a second. So here we go. Okay guys, so we've got everything open now, so I'll just take you through this very quickly. This is our Hobie Power Pole Plate that is provided again by Hobie. I've only put aside sort of the nuts and bolts we're going to need for this installation. This package does come with a whole bunch of nuts and bolts, and you'll need that for different installations, but that's all we're going to need. We're going to need these 2 clamps and these 2 M5 screws to go onto the back of your steering box on the Pro Angler. Of course, we have our J-2 power pole adapter here. This is what ships with that adapter. And the tools we're going to need for this are an 11 mil ratchet set of some sort adjustable wrench would be really nice, Phillips screwdriver, and a pair of scissors to cut off our zip ties here at the end. And of course, I've opened up our J-2 kit here and laid it out so we can put that on the adapter later on. We've got our J-2 motor, battery, the nuts and bolts that come to attach that to the adapter, kill switch, dielectric grease, and a remote control. The charger I left in the box because we won't need that for now. So let's get started. And the first thing we're going to do here, this is not conventional for this adapter installation, but the first thing we're going to do before we put this plate onto the kayak, we're going to install our power pole plate onto the Hobie plate. Because if you don't do that first, it's going to be very hard to get this plate onto this Hobie plate later on when it's on the kayak. So the first thing we're going to do is get this power pole adapter onto the Hobie plate. So let's get that done. Okay, so we have our plate on here now. Our power pole plate is on the Hobie plate, and you notice I had to reach back there and tighten those bolts. And that's why I was saying it's going to be very difficult, almost impossible to get the power pole plate on here if this is sitting on the kayak. So from there, we're going to take this over to the kayak. We're going to bolt the front of it, and you'll notice you've got 2 sets of holes here. And the reason they do this is because the different Pro Anglers have different stern setups. So I think one of them is for the 12 and 14 and the other one is for the 17. But you don't need both of these. So you'll see when it's installed in the kayak that we have to use the one where the back reaches the H-rail and allows us to clamp it down to the H-rail. And of course, these 2 are to secure this adapter to the H-rails. So we're going to take this over to the kayak and get this on there. So there's our Pro Angler and the back of it, obviously. So we're going to put this plate. To do this, you're going to have to remove your rudder plate from the kayak. And again, as I was saying before, you'll see 2 sets of holes here. On this particular kayak, which is a Pro Angler 12, we're going to use the forward holes. So we're going to line those up there. We've got our 2 M5 bolts that come with that. So we're going to get those in there. We don't want to make these too tight right now because we do want some movement in the back so we can install the H-rail. So we're going to leave those slightly loose. And then you'll see we've got some movement back here, which is nice. We don't want to make this too tight and end up cracking something. So we'll leave that for now. Then I'm going to put those 2 clamps on the back here. So we're going to put our clips on now to secure the Hobie plate to the H-rail on the back of the kayak. And for that, again, we need the clips from Hobie, our adjustable wrench, and our Phillips screwdriver. That's all you really need for doing that. So let's get that done. This is a little bit tough to align all of these, to align these clips to the H-rail and to the plate. And you're fishing this through about 4 layers of plastic, so doesn't always work out as smoothly as you'd like it to. Again, we don't want to make this too tight because we still do have the other side to do, and it does become more difficult as one side goes in. And here we go, this side. Now that we have this secure, we can go back to the top and of course secure the 2 screws we had on top here. Make sure those are nice and tight as well. Okay, and now we have a super secure, I can't pull this up too hard, but we have a very, very secure platform now to install our power pole adapter and get our J-2 motor on there and get on our way. So I'll bring that out and we'll install that. So now we have our Hobie plate on, we have our power pole plate on. Now what we're going to do is get our vertical pipe on to the adapter and get our motor on here. Now you can do this either way. You can put the motor on here first and then put the entire thing on your boat, or you can put this on the boat and put the motor on. I prefer having this on the boat so it's a little sturdier what I'm working with, but either way is fine. So we'll get this pipe on the pole, and you got these nice thumb screws that ship with your adapter. So this is really easy. And when you do want to take your motor away, when you're done kayaking and when you're out of the water, you do want to take your motor away. This is actually the part you want to take off. You want to leave this on your kayak, obviously, because this is very difficult to get on and off all the time. So that part's going to go in there like that. Very simply, gets hand tightened, no tools necessary. Okay, and that's your clip to prevent it from kicking up when you're going in reverse, and to kick out when you want to pull it out of the water or if you hit something. Now, before I put the motor on there, we also have a locking mechanism that ships with this adapter. So I'm going to install the locking mechanism on there, and I'm going to show you what that's for and how that's used. So with your adapter, you're going to get this locking mechanism and this 5mm Allen key. So the purpose of this locking mechanism is to prevent your motor from spinning if you don't want it to, and to allow it to spin if you want it to. So if you were going to use one of our steering mechanisms with this and you wanted to be able to steer your motor, then you release this and it'll allow the motor to spin. If you didn't want it to spin the motor, then you lock this down and then you use your rudder to spin your motor. So this is super simple. Just open this up. The flat part goes on the back, just above the pipe clamp. and very lightly just get that screw started in there. And we do the same thing on the other side. All right. So this is a very, very simple mechanism, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our pipe is pointing straight. So you make sure your motor will be pointing straight. And then before we tighten this, we turn it and make sure it's aligned with that little gap that's in there. Once it's aligned, if we put this pin in there, that will prevent it from turning. And then what we got to do is make sure these are nice and tight. We don't want to over tighten them. Definitely don't want to use a power tool, but we do want to tighten these so it prevents the motor from spinning. And that's it. So now, because that pin is in there, you're not able to turn this, so you can use your rudder to turn. If you wanted to turn using our hand steering or our pole steering or some other steering mechanism, you simply pull this pin out and now you can steer again. Okay. We're going to clip that in there, put our pin back in, because the Pro Angler has a nice rudder, so we don't need to turn it. If you do want to get a pole steering mechanism, links are below. Look on our website for the pole steering mechanism and how you install that onto the same adapter. One last thing before we leave this and get to the motor, you can adjust the height of this and you can go deeper or shallower into water. You always want the top of your motor to be about 3 inches below waterline, but if you wanted to adjust the height, all you do is you open these two, same Allen key. You just open these two. And that'll allow you to drop your shaft lower, or you can bring it up higher. I'm going to bring it up a little bit higher now just to make it easier for myself to put that motor on. Of course, it's adjustable, so you can get it to the height you want. I'm going to tighten that again, and now our pipe is secure. We're going to put our pin back in. We're all locked down. And that's it. So now what we're going to do is put our motor on there, hook it up to a battery, and we're off. We're done. Okay, so we have our adapter. Everything's in place. Last thing left to do is to put the motor on there. So very simply, we're going to take our motor. We have our 4 nuts and bolts that came with the package. Again, same 2 tools, guys. So we really try to keep things simple and have you use as few tools as necessary. You put your motor on this moose horn here, or what we've started calling a moose horn. Oops. And the wire can go on either side of the motor. It doesn't really matter. It's just your preference which way you want the wire to run through your kayak. And there's 2. 3 and 4. So we want to tighten these quite well, because this is what's holding your motor to your adapter. We don't want to use an impact driver again or anything powered, but just hand tightening these, giving it a good strong quarter turn, will make sure that they don't come off while you're in the water. Okay, so our motor is on. Now I'm going to show you guys how to run this cable onto your kayak. In your adapter kit, you'll get 3 zip ties and 3 of these nifty wire clips that we have made specifically for this purpose. And we're going to use these clips to secure our wire to the side of the pipe and just run it up to the side of the kayak. In an adapter about this size, only about 2 clips is really necessary. If you do want to clip it a little tighter, you can definitely use the 3rd one, or you can keep that one as a spare. So the way these clips work, it's pretty simple, guys. You just take this clip, put it around the wire first. You put the wire around your pipe, just hold it there for a second. Then you get your I'll close that up so you can see, but that zip tie goes right in there like that. And you run it through. You can make that as tight as you can without breaking it. And some scissors to clip that off. And we're going to do one more on the top, right below our clip. And again, that goes around the pipe, through the clip, and through the zip tie. And again, we want to make this nice and tight. That's it, guys. So it's as simple as that. You can have the wire pointing to the front or the back. That's really your preference. And the wire goes from there up to your kayak. If the motor kicks up, or when you do pull it up, obviously the motor comes out like this. So you want to give your wire a little bit of slack so it's got some room to move. You don't want to make it too tight. You can also get a zip tie or a twist tie and wrap your wire to the side of the adapter there. That's a nice, neat place for it to stay. And that's it. You're installed. You're locked in right now, as I said. You pull that clip, you're turning, and your turning radius is incredible on this. You know, you're well close to 270 degrees. So if you did want to use our pole steering or some other steering mechanism, that'll give you really good maneuverability. As I said before, when you're done and you want to take your motor back, it's as simple as taking these two nuts out, or bolts, sorry. It's as simple as taking out these two bolts, unclipping, and taking your motor home. That's it. It's that simple. So that stays on your kayak. This goes home with you. Gets rinsed in the fresh water, bucket of fresh water. So you get some salt off there if you're in salt water. Otherwise, no maintenance, nothing required. So that's it. That's the installation. I'm going to show you how to run this to the battery and get it powered up. And then we're done with this installation. All right, so now that we have our adapter on, we have our motor on, I'm going to show you guys very quickly how to attach our battery to our motor. So you'll notice on your battery, you've got 3 ports. You have your charging port, your auxiliary port for 12 and 5 volt devices, and you have your main power port. So the main power port is what we want to plug the motor into. Before we do that, we're going to put just a dab of dielectric grease that came with your kit onto the adapter there. Just about that much will do it. That'll help protect the pins. It'll make mating the adapter a little bit easier. So what you want to do is you want to line up your 5 pins to the 5 connector holes that are on your connector. But more importantly, you want to line up those 2 tabs to the 2 little notches that are on the battery port. So we're going to go in like that, line those up. Once they're lined up, you can give it a push all the way in. And then you want to turn this 175 degrees, and then you'll feel that connector sort of click into place under your thumb. And then you're mated, and that's it, and that'll be waterproof. So if you do fall overboard, or if your battery goes overboard, the battery is buoyant, it won't sink, and it'll also be protected there, so you won't be shorting anything out if you do that properly. Your battery can go under your seat as long as you're not sitting on the battery, and as long as it's just not sitting continuously in a pool of water. You can put it on the back, you can attach it to anything you want, essentially on your kayak. It can sit anyway. You can get it to sit. It doesn't really matter. You don't want it sitting on the connector and getting pushed down, obviously, but pretty much anything else goes. Once your battery is on, I'll put it this way, a little more visible. You have your kill switch that you want to attach to your leg, foot, head, life vest, whatever. So if you do fall off, your boat doesn't take off on you. Kill switch goes on the battery. You'll hear a beep and your battery shows your status. And you have your remote that comes in your kit, obviously. If you press the stop button, you'll hear it if it's synced. If it's not synced, please follow the instructions on your user manual to learn how to sync the remote to your battery. It's a very simple key sequence of stop button, forward, reverse, and stop. It is in your user manual, so please take a look at that. And we're set to go. You can run your motor at the 1st and 2nd speed forward in air. It won't hurt it, so we're going to run that for a second. And you'll hear your motor going. And 2nd speed, and we're good. And we don't want to do that for very long. We just want to do that for a second. And last but not least, there is a pull-up rope that comes in your adapter kit. And I'm going to put that on here as well, so we have a complete installation. And the pull-up rope is obviously to pull your motor up. So if you're coming to shore, if you want to pull your motor up, or if you know you're going to run into something where you want your motor out of water, then you'll have this rope, and there's a clamp cleat that comes with this rope that you attach somewhere close to your seat. And once you have this rope on there, you can just pull it out, lock it down, and keep your motor out of water. This rope does go through this little eye bolt here to make it easier to pull up and to keep locked down. Okay. Now, once you want to release your motor, you want to drop it in as quickly as you can. So you drop it in and it locks into place. If it doesn't lock into place, when you're on the water, you can always give it a tap with your paddle or try it again, or put it in forward and it'll get pushed into the clip. And that is it, guys. That is a complete installation of our Bixpy Power Pole adapter on a J-2 motor on a Hobie Pro Angler using the Hobie Pro Angler Power Pole Plate. Hope you enjoyed that, and see you on the water.